Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Kal Korff and I am the president and CEO of a company called UFOlitics. According to the UFO dictionary, the word UFOlitics simply means the intersection of UFOs, paranormal, and politics. Nothing good ever comes from UFOlitics. We must avoid playing UFOlitics at all costs. UFOlitics produces crimes, produces victims. People make claims about UFOs, sell you stuff that isn't true, rip you off, sell investors fake Roswell UFO fragments. It's all over the map. Spaceships, anti-gravity cars, whatever. There's a lot of fraud going on here. Now, UFOlitics is a real company. It exists for one reason. We are the only legal business, yes, we really exist, where we expose UFO frauds, paranormal frauds, corrupt media, prostitutes as we call them, and we also expose corrupt politicians and their enablers who play UFOlitics. Please join us in our quest and cause. You can see one of our deliverables already. This is an article by top investigative journalist Art Levine called Spaceship of Fools. It is the most comprehensive expose ever written by a credible top journalist you can't argue with, everything is proven, who shows who the frauds are in ufology. It's actually not ufology, it's ufology, let's be honest. You see, ufology is when people make statements or conclusions about UFOs which are not derivable from credible data. Whereas ufology, that is a noble endeavor, and we must always encourage it, because ufology is simply the scientific study of UFO data, nothing more, nothing less. So the problem is not ufology. It's fine. It always will be fine, just like astronomy is fine. The problem is astrology. And to use UFOs as an analogy, again, ufology is fine. Ufology, UFO version of astrology, is the problem. So we are working with authorities to help prosecute, expose, and investigate these frauds and finally hold them accountable. I have warned everybody for years that this was going on, only to be attacked, maligned, smeared, libeled, slandered, defamed with deliberate malicious intent, which are all felony crimes, by the way, and also state crimes, depending on where it happens. But the point is, those of you who did this didn't have a fucking clue what was going on. You weren't involved, you weren't there. You just made it up, which makes you 100% guilty, and 100% is complete and total. So, what we're doing is on Monday, members of the Senate and Congress, and then expanding to their aides who are guilty, are going to be served. They're going to be served with ethics complaints because they've been written, they're being filed, and they will be served on Monday. The media has been given copies of these. We are willing to make the exclusive story available to all the right top reporters because we've got nothing to hide. It's the other side that does. So let's continue this. Over the next few weeks, every single day, we will be uploading a lot of stuff. We will be monitoring and prosecuting the upcoming fraud hearing that all of you are going to be exposed to. And let me tell you what you're going to be exposed to, because we already know. You're going to be told that the U.S. government has in its possession crashed UFOs and alien bodies, and that is a fucking lie. It is not true. The person who is claiming this is a fraud, okay? He's being exposed, and if we are successful, he's going to be prosecuted, put under oath and penalty of perjury. And here's the thing. The moment any of these frauds are put under oath and penalty of perjury, they can't handle it anymore. They're exactly like the Trump people that fall apart once they have to tell the truth, because their whole case has always been based on fraud and bullshit, or ufology. Ufology is always a problem. It is inherent in the nature of ufology. So there's a lot to discuss, folks. We have software coming out called UFOComp, which we will be giving away to the top researchers, and they're waiting for it. We are so excited over that. And that's yet another example of how You cyberstalkers and haters, you UFO disclosure frauds, you didn't know this was coming. Billy Meyer and Mikey Horn, did you know the police complaints were coming? I guess the Pleiadians didn't tell you. Shame on them. They also didn't tell you when we went undercover inside your cult and busted you multiple times. So obvious, posing as a guy named Oscar Mayer Wiener. And you fell for that name? Really? So while Mikey Horn continues to libel, slander, and defame, we're going to be releasing the police complaints, and we're going to look forward to prosecuting him, because we can, and we have said for years we're going to do this. And Art explains in the article why this has taken so long. And I warned everybody years ago, only to be told I'm not telling the truth. And now there's a big-ass article out that proves not only was I always telling the truth, it seems that I am the only one who bothered to file multiple complaints against these frauds with various agencies. And since I am who I claim, and always have been, really, I'm just doing what I normally do. And it's not my fault if UFO frauds and the people who are being exposed and the people who just lie to you and deceive you, which is a lot of the major media on this subject, it's not my fault if they have a problem with this and that they are being exposed. You see, Operation Pandora's Box, which is the umbrella op for what are really dozens of projects, okay? We have software in the form of UFOcomp, okay? We have 24 expose books coming out written by myself and other top researchers, and each one of them solves a specific UFO case. It's original research, or it doesn't exist. We're giving away UFOcomp. We have our prosecution actions, where we are actually filing criminal complaints against these people. I am a legally protected whistleblower. That's a fact. Confidential address issued by the state of Nevada because of my undercover activities that have been going on for years, busting these frauds. And instead of coming after extremists and stuff like that overseas, I'm in the USA as part of an alliance to do this. And we're funded for 3 years. So after we get the UFO riffraff out of the way and expose them, okay, we're going to focus more on the election and politics, because we're funded up through 1 year past the upcoming presidential election. And that's really the big prize, folks. Because the problem with this country is that it plays UFOlitics. We are the only legal entity that goes after and prosecutes and exposes UFOlitics. And believe me, we've got a lot of ways to do it. Our new show, UFOlitics, and UFOlitics Saucer City are unprecedented. And we have created hundreds of avatars that match to the frauds. And what we do is we go around the world. I am their commander, so my avatar looks a bit different. And we rendition into the Colossus Grand Temple of Ufology these rogue avatars whose behavior is worse than their real-life fraud counterparts. So you get to see us interrogate these people, talk to them. They're in a special exhibition room where they're surrounded by the best evidence against them, their own bullshit. And what you can do is you can simply click a button, scan a QR code, and you can actually file complaints against these frauds. In other words, the next time that someone like Linda Moulton Howe, who's a fraud, wants to sell you real Roswell UFO fragments, you can just click a button and report her, and they'll go after her. It's that simple. People need only to bother. And what we're doing is releasing a bunch of tools and allowing this to happen, empowering people to do it. And as I wind this unscripted speech down, I'm simply saying a lot is coming. We're going to constantly post material. And we're going to put on the UFOlitics website the actual links to the people who lose their shit over this and now are making threats. And then you can just click and it gets reported to the authorities. And of course they will act. On Monday, I go down to the police here, I promise you. And I'm going to be meeting to discuss what has happened now that this article is out. I will be discussing fraud Fox producer Robert Kiviat. We are proceeding in the actions against him. He will return my material, or I just simply contact the FBI. That's it. It's simple. I'm public about this. And I'm also going public about the things he's not telling you. I'm also going public over the data we have and our formal complaint against his colleague, CIA's Dr. Ron Pandolfi. I said I'm exposing him. I told Kiviat I would do it after his legal case was over, and that was it, and I kept that promise. So you will actually hear the recordings. You can actually hear them on Art's article now. Here, Ron Pandolfi claim he shut down ATIP. Here, Ron Pandolfi claim it was a criminal activity and that Harry Reid took the money. And I have no idea if Ron Pandolfi is telling you the truth. You'd have to ask Ron Pandolfi, sorry. And I asked him years ago. I said, bring any lawyer you want, any CIA guys you want, let's talk, because I'm exposing you. And of course, he never replied, and he doesn't have to. But I want the public to know this. So yes, I did file complaints against Pandolfi. They're going to be made public now. And there's a whole lot of other stuff coming. The entire criminal complaints with the SEC are also being released. There's all kinds of letters coming out that are starting the processes that mark the beginning of prosecutions. And let me give you one example. There are people who claim, and they're lying, that I have no connections to any intelligence background. Well, I've been an intelligence analyst for years. I've always said that. And some intelligence groups have ranks, okay? When I was at Apple as a security supervisor for the Macintosh project, I held the rank of lieutenant. It's not my responsibility or fault that they have ranks of captain and lieutenant and sergeant and so on. That is a reality. What is not reality is when people confuse and lie about serving one's country and having a rank versus being in private service. They're different things. If you say that you're something in the U.S. government and you're not, that's a crime and it's stealing valor, and you should not say you were a soldier serving the country when you weren't. That's fraudulent. Like Kevin Randall, for example. He served his country in the reserves, okay, was in Vietnam, fine, but he has a fake PhD. And his publisher, Philip Mantle, who puts on the cover that he has a fake PhD, or no, he says he has a real PhD. I'm the one who told Philip Mantle that Randall's PhD was fake because I'm the one who exposed it last century, or rather around the turn of the century, I guess. So the point is, this needs to stop. And so you may know that the intelligence agency that my cyberstalkers and haters swear does not exist, and I just made up, no, it is funding the purchase of stocks in companies. And then it is going to file as a counterintelligence agency. Yes, folks, it's really happening. It's real. It's not James Bond. It's real stuff. I don't watch James Bond movies. I don't like them. I hate them. And they're buying stock in companies that are help perpetuating fraud. And then they're filing complaints with the SEC over it. So let me announce to you two of those companies. There's more than them. One is History Channel. Target is Nick Pope. He's a fraud. They know that. He has more tour dates booked than the Finals Eagles, retirement tour, farewell tour. This fraud has to stop because now they're saying ancient aliens have been here, not only for thousands of years, but millions of years now. No, there's no evidence of ancient aliens at all. But you'd never know that watching the History Channel. So last year, for example, we went undercover in Roswell, busted over 100 people, and again, all this is coming out. So we are funded by this entity for 3 years. It's a counterintelligence operation, ultimately, folks, to do one thing that America needs. So outsiders have to be brought in who are Americans and Jews or whatever. They are going after these extremists because America is being divided by playing UFOlitics. America is more polarized now than since the Vietnam War and the Civil War, and this is wrong. We have more information today at our fingertips than we ever have before. And despite this incredible gift, and I have been honored and blessed to be part of the software teams that have created some of these technologies at Apple over the years when I've worked there, and Claris. So my point is, if we have all this technology and we're doing all this communicating, why are we not understanding each other? It's because we're letting our emotions get in the way of our logic. That's why I'm also president and CEO, and have been for over 20 years, of a little entity called Critical Thinkers. You see, this is all stuff that my cyberstalkers and haters never tell you. They never tell you about my over 10,000 articles that I have had published over the world, full-page specials, hundreds of full-page specials, columns, and so on subjects that they can't even touch. A lot of it having to do with terrorism, counterterrorism, extremists. Sound familiar? Yeah, today it's UFOs, little gray leprechauns stuffed in pickle jars at Area 51. Well, since I am one of the top UFO researchers in the world and have been for 50 years, it's a fact, we're now closing a lot of this stuff out, and I am working with the top researchers. I welcome anybody to join us, and I remind everyone again that I am the president and CEO of a company called UFOlitics. It is the only company in the world who has a legal charter to work with and expose UFO and paranormal frauds, techno-scammers, politicians who play UFOlitics, prostitutes, corrupt producers, and media who play UFOlitics. They're all being exposed. Operation Pandora's Box, which I launched over 5 years ago and brought back to the United States with me. I actually started this stuff in India, and I've run some of those videos before when we started to expose Stanton Friedman and a cyberstalker and hater by the name of Andrei Skondras. Yes, I warned him this was coming from India. He didn't take it seriously. I know that in this impromptu speech, where I'm just winging it here, I've talked about a lot of things. It's all over the map. It's not possible to summarize in a short video what has been 50 years worth of work in exposés. Instead, we are producing these product lines for you because everything that we do, it gets released to the public and you can decide the issues for yourself. We have taken things to the point where you can literally compare what we're saying to what they're saying, and you will know instantly who's telling you the truth. And it is not. And it's not them. So again, we have software called UFOComp. Okay? We have an app, UFOlitics. They don't have any such thing. We have 24 expose books. Each one is an original piece of research. Today, the UFO Dictionary, which is a data dictionary embedded in all this. For IT guys, that should be exciting. For people who aren't into IT, let me explain what that means. It simply means that with the AI and everything else we have running, that with the data dictionary, the UFO dictionary embedded in this, where hard terms are coded and not negotiable because they're facts, like laws of physics. It just means that when the data is in there, ufology will be flagged and easy to isolate and separate. That means separating fact from fiction. And nobody's doing this. They can, they just don't bother. So we're going to make this possible with other people's large collections. And we want everybody to share the data. But we also want to get things, and will get things, to be very clear, that when Johnny X talks to you about UFOs, you will know pretty much immediately whether he is a ufologist, which means stop, ignore him, expose him, or a ufologist, which means please help him. So I'm going to close out this speech by just reminding you of a couple things. Ufology is a scientific study of UFO reports, period. Nothing more, nothing less. Ufology is when people make statements or conclusions about UFOs, which are not derivable from credible data. That's a fact. This has always been the definitions of these two terms. UFOlitics, which is a term I invented in the 70s. I've got the proof. Sorry, Bob Kiviat, your host. Anyway, it is the intersection of UFOs, paranormal, and the politics, and nothing good comes from that. UFOlitics produces victims. It empowers people to commit fraud. It creates scenarios which have happened in real history here, where you have companies selling fake Roswell UFO crash fragments using investor money, selling stuff that was exposed as a hoax in the 1990s. I know that because I helped do it. It's in my best-selling book of all time, Exposing Roswell, called The Roswell UFO Crash, What They Don't Want You to Know. It's published by Random House Penguin Books. It's been out since year 2000, and it is the first book to expose Roswell fraud, Philip Corso, and it exposes 100 Roswell UFO crash books. It proves that Kevin Randle is a fraud, where it concerns many of his claims. Same with Don Schmitt. I said in 1996 and 7 that Don Schmitt's Roswell Catholic nun witnesses didn't exist. They couldn't exist. And years later, Don Schmitt finally admits he made it up. So in our show, you get to see these Catholic nuns. They have things to say in their avatar form about Mr. Bull Schmidt. So by using avatars, satire, humor, facts, science, things you can verify, QR codes you can scan where you just find the truth like that, where you see the Hill star map floating in your living room thanks to AR technology, and you can see that the Hill case is not credible, that the star map was full of shit, that it was exposed by me and others in the 1970s, especially Bob Schaefer, Charles Atterberg. This is real stuff. All this real data is coming out. These cases are being exposed. The reason we're revisiting the Hill case, even though it's been exposed, people just deny it and lie about it, is because ex-President Barack Obama, of all fucking things, I'm sorry, is going to release a movie with Netflix on the Hill case through Higher Ground Pictures. Higher ground, my ass. Talk about new low ground. As I close this last point here, we're going to expose the ex-president of the United States, Barack Obama, over the Hill case because he's mixing UFOs into civil rights lessons. And that's wrong. What are we going to do? Bring in dino beavers next? Oh, I'm sorry. History Channel's already done that. Skinwalker Ranch, right? Yeah, right. So it's time to stop the fraud. The entity backing all this, which is a counterintelligence operation, and it's not only based in the U.S., is buying stock in the companies to file fraud complaints to stop it. Because the laws are being broken. It is a slam dunk case. It really is only an issue of whether people will do their jobs. And we will start to prove whether people will do their jobs by our beloved so-called representatives, who are often called misrepresentatives. They represent a country that is divided and polarized. There are too many extremists in this country. So on Monday, again, the senators for the UFO committees, both parties, Democrats and Congress, or Democrats, Republicans, Congress members, and Senate members, and expanding to their staff, will be served with this complaint. By law, they have 30 days to respond, folks. That's exciting. Not 300 days, 30. That's the way to do it. The frauds that they are putting on next week are exposed before that hearing and after, because we will be doing video rejoinders. And I am turning over lists of witnesses and experts who can destroy and expose these frauds, and I am pushing for a hearing that we put everybody in a room, WrestleMania style, so to speak, and we all get cross-examined. And by the end of that day, we find out whether Jan Aldrich is telling the truth or Lou Elizondo, whether Kal Korff is telling the truth or Grush, or whether anybody, James Easton, Art Levine, is telling the truth in his exposés, or whether Leslie Kean is. You see, this needs to happen because these people won't debate. They run. They're cowards. I challenge all of them to a debate, everyone being exposed. And if we didn't get any facts right, we will correct them because we want the public to know. I can't be more transparent. But because this is not a normal situation where we have people who believe in stupid shit and threaten to harm and kill people who don't agree with them, that's really it. There is no difference, as I have proven in my 6-book Secret X-Wars thesis, where all my cyber stalkers and haters are trapped and exposed in there. That was the point of doing this years ago, as well as alarming or raising awareness of the larger issue. That there is no difference, please quote me, there is no difference, folks, between a member of Al-Qaeda who wants to kill you because you don't believe in their stupid shit versus a Bigfoot nut or UFO disclosure nut who also wants to hurt you or expose you because you're exposing the truth about the people that they have some weird thing going on with. They're just in denial of reality. Nobody should have a problem with anybody who is exposing the truth. It doesn't matter what that truth is. We can't reject it just because we don't like it. And when the same people are exposing the frauds and bothering to have them held accountable and prosecuted, and clearing the way for real UFO data and real research, and telling you in the government who really has the answers and how you're being played and manipulated, you have a problem with this? What the fuck is your problem? Because the problem is on your end. It is never on any truth seeker. And speaking of truth seekers, they come in different levels. We go 100%. We do not define a truth seeker as anybody who doesn't finish and complete things to the end and doesn't help turn over these people and prosecute them when everything is being handed to them on a platter. So all of you who consider yourselves truth seekers, please contact us, because we will hook you up into the whistleblower programs. We will hook you up with the DOJ and the FBI, because UFOlitics, the company, I personally am meeting and running these businesses, arrangements, and liaisons. And yes, they're unprecedented, meaning they've never been done before. But so what? Who cares? Because I have devoted my life to 3 things. And nobody can dispute this unless they're lying. I do either original research. Original research pushes the human race forwards, period. Or I finish research left incomplete by others. Because unfinished research is wasted research. Hello. And then finally, I examine existing issues, which people seem to think are important, or they are important, because sometimes things aren't really important, but people lose their shit and they think it is. And I try to find solutions, and I move on. Everything I do in 500 projects, dozens of which are coming out now thanks to Art's article, long in development for years. So every cyber soccer hater like Mikey Horn, whatever, they lied to you all these times because none of them were involved. None. And yet they're telling you what I'm doing? Really? Are you that fucking stupid, people? I guess so, based on the hate mail that you send here and there. And by the way, everybody who sends me hate mail and threats, we're just going to publish them on a single page and forward them to the government, because I'm a legally protected whistleblower, and so are the people I work with, and we're working with the government and other entities to nail these people. And the bad guys and criminals can't win this war, because they'd have to basically overtake the country, and they can't. The DOJ and other agencies, when they bother to do their job, like the upcoming stuff that is being set and submitted to the Council of Inspector Generals. Hello. Everyone's going to have the same data set. Over 12,000 slides nailing these frauds. And what's the other side going to do? They can't do anything. All they can do is bitch and moan and scream and post links to things that aren't true and claim victory. Well, it's a crime to post links to cyber stalking and hate sites that threaten to kill people. So every time somebody does that, finds something on the internet and says, look at this, it must be true, and it's not, we're simply going to post it publicly and forward it to investigators, and we'll see what happens. And this is all going to be public. So if anybody wants to be famous, to be busted by the police for engaging in behavior that is illegal, please, please, I'm just telling you ahead of time what's going to happen. Because the best way to defeat darkness is to shine light on it. The Jews, for example, figured out a long time ago, it was written a long time ago, that darkness cannot survive the light. Have a good day. I'll be in touch soon. We have to start uploading the UFO dictionary. You know, the one that has Bob Kiviat in trouble now. But that's another story, and that's a series of episodes coming up in UFOlitics Saucer City. See, this is where they're renditioned in the Temple of Ufology versus UFOlitics, the show where I just answer questions about what we're doing and we have guests, and it's not so involved. But if people really want to see the dirty stuff or the real details and the frauds, like Ingo Swann's trips to Jupiter and the moon. Oh, Hal Puthoff didn't tell you about that? That Ingo Swann went to those planets, he remote viewed them? Bullshit. He found cities with millions of people on Mars? Really? Bullshit. But you'd never know that talking to Hal Puthoff. So we show you that data. Did you know that Leslie Kean, the UFO fraud who had a sexual affair with Bud Hopkins and broke his marriage up? You can ask his ex-wife. Ask, actually, Leslie Kean how their affair was. Do you know that Leslie Kean touches ghosts? Does anybody report that? Well, Bob Schaefer did, and he got attacked for it, and that's wrong. Leslie Kean can contact ghosts. So why does CNN give her a gig? we're asking CNN to find out. And why didn't they send their crew so that she can contact a ghost on CNN and get a Nobel Prize? Because the fact is she can't contact a ghost. It's complete bullshit. And the fact that you have her claiming a ghost touched me, oh, well, really, folks. So Leslie Fly is in the show. Again, she's exposed. And again, these are all facts, folks. So I'm going to end this. I promised I would. I know I'm droning on, but there's so much stuff. And you have to understand that this is 50 years worth of work. And Operation Pandora's Box has been operating in plain sight and hidden at the same time in the U.S. since for the last over 5 years now. And some people know this. I even did an interview saying I was doing this, and here I am. And that's a matter of public record. And then you guys said, oh, it isn't true. He's lying, whatever. Really? Go read Art's article. And anybody that doubts anything else I say, that's your disease, not mine. Just because somebody says something doesn't mean it's true. I'm releasing everything. You can verify it. And remember the obvious. It's an old Jewish, I'll leave you with a couple old Jewish expressions. One is that no opinion ever automatically makes it a fact. It doesn't matter what the subject is. And the last one, which is one of my favorites, what is necessary is always wise. And if it exists, it has at least one purpose. The key words are at least one. We have many purposes. Hundreds of people are being exposed. There's over 100 people in the city of Roswell itself who are part of the Roswell crash. Fraud. You're being fed through the Roswell Daily Record, History Channel, and other things like Nick Pope and Don Schmidt and other people that we are pursuing now. And we're pursuing Nick Pope, by the way, in the UK and elsewhere, because he's guilty of consumer fraud. And if Nick Pope doesn't think he's guilty of consumer fraud, come on our show and prove it, big boy, because the most extensive expose of Nick Pope ever done now is in Art Levine's wonderful article, Spaceship of Fools. Have a nice day. See you soon. My name is Kal Korff, and I am the one and only president of a real company called UFOlitics. And UFOlitics exposes UFOlitics. We hunt down, expose UFO and paranormal frauds, corrupt politicians who play UFOlitics, prostitutes, and producers who play UFOlitics. See you soon.